I was raised in a kind of an environment where questions were not encouraged. And when particularly difficult questions about, say, say something like transubstantiation, or why, for example, Jews were responsible for the death of Christ, even though Christ was the king of the Jews. I couldn't understand questions like that. Why did you go to hell for forever? Yet some people went to places like limbo, and other places people went to hell or to heaven. I was told when I asked those questions that they were mysteries. And I remember asking one teacher what was a mystery. And he said, it's something you can't understand. But that in order to comprehend the nature of a mystery, you had to have faith. And so I didn't understand how that worked. I grew up in a Catholic household where the idea of becoming a priest was something very special. It was the notion of being called by God. It was a vocation. And so at quite a young age, I entered the seminary, still with many unformed questions and many questions that I hadn't had anybody answer to my satisfaction. I do remember, though, as a young, I must have been 8 or 9 at the time, there was a Jewish joke circulating in the playground. Now, as far as I was concerned in Ireland, I didn't know anybody who was Jewish, even though James Joyce, the main character in his novel, was a Jewish man who lived in Dublin. I think that was about the only reference I'd ever heard to Jewish people living in Ireland. And there was a man who became Lord Mayor of Dublin, Briscoe, who was Jewish. But they were exceptionally, it was a community that wasn't accessible to us. One day, at this farm where we used to go to collect milk, I remember my mother pointed out this group of men and she said to me, they're Jewish. And I looked at them and I thought they looked very strange with black beards and black hats. But beyond that, I knew nothing. Why an anti-Semitic joke was going around the playgrounds in Dublin, I don't actually know. I didn't understand the significance of it at 7 or 8. To me, it was just a joke that was funny. I later read somewhere that one of the things that Goebbels did when he was fashioning the image of the fascist party in Germany in the late 20s and early 30s was to employ anonymous scriptwriters to disseminate jokes about Jews. Anyway, that was my extent of the knowledge of what it meant to be Jewish. And so I went to this Catholic seminary, and I still couldn't figure out why, if Jesus was king of the Jews, and Jesus was a Jew himself, and his father was a Jew, and his mother was a Jew, how come I began to understand how come we weren't supposed to like them for what they did? And nobody could answer that question for me.